got to say yes, isn't it? Yeah, no, it was, yeah. Mine was Tom Baker.
Tom Baker,
yeah.
Tom Baker.
Yeah, I mean, for me, funny story was when I first went into my first audition, they asked me, they said, how many shows have, what do you know about? And I was like, oh, this is correctly, if I don't, it's going to be like the first hurdle. But, it was, for me, it was something that I think I grew to love it more and I was part of it. That was special for me because I grew to love it by working on it as well as watching it. So yeah.
Because it had times, didn't it? When, I don't know when, but it dipped out. Because it went on, we're not constant, we're not coming back. So it was definitely different from you guys.
Definitely different. But I think for me as well, obviously working with Jodie as a doctor, like there was a change when I was part of it. So for me, it was kind of like pivotal, and I'm kind of looking back to see how things had changed, and you kind of appreciate it, and you think, yeah,
Were there auditions for your parts? Tell me about the process of getting to being a doctor.
Well, luckily for me, there wasn't in my case because I'd already worked with Russell and T. Davis on something called Mine or Mine, which sadly bombed. I know, it was really good. It was with Griffiths Jones, it was about a family in Wales who inherited Wales, basically, realised they were the monarchy of Wales. So I'd worked with him a few years before, and then I got offered an audition for the Sarah Jane Mysteries, and I said to my agent, oh, if I audition for this, does that mean I would never be able to do a Doctor Who? Because I really want to be in Doctor Who. And word got back to Russell, and he said, oh, I'll write your part in Doctor Who. And I said, thank you very much, never thinking anything would come of it. And the next thing I know, I'm in the Christmas episode with David Tennant and Kylie Minogue. So yes, that was possibly the best thing that's ever happened to me, ever.
I want to run applause.
That's a request.
I had to audition.
Yes.
No, it's just like, I went up and did, went up for Angela, and that was, I think, in November, and I got it, and then we went off to Dubai in the January. So,
wow.
Yes. Yeah, but it wasn't a big wow, but it was just saying that, I love Dubai, but we were in the really crap part. Right on the outskirts, right on the outskirts, on the border. And I'm going to, do you think I can tell this story, Chris? Okay. So we turned up, and we get to Dubai, and I'm like, they get in the minibus. I was like, okay. So he goes in the minibus, and on the borders, because I'm going to say this PC, you can do some things, i.e. drink, and maybe do some other extra activities. Physically, does that make sense? It's a knock-in shop, right? So they put us up in something that looks a bit like Heidi, a swimming pool in the middle, and all these rooms around, And they were lovely, really nice big rooms. Everybody had the same rooms. David Tennant, myself, absolute darling cast and crew. But again, it was like there was this funny smell, and it was a funny smell of extracurricular activities, basically.
Oh no!
And they'd given us basically this. A brothel for the week, and we all had rooms in it, and that, absolutely. So when I say Dubai, just think it was like hide Dubai. That's what it was.
A really bad holiday.
It really bad holiday. I absolutely screwed. And then we had sandstorms in the desert, so you had to stop. And Dr. T-Pan still found us. They still come and
really?
Yeah, in the middle of a dodgy old desert in Dubai.
The things fans do.
I know, yeah, but it was great, it was brilliant, so I'll go to that
I had to audition as well, So
wasn't Mandip was auditioning as well?
Yes, so Mandip was auditioning as well. So I went up for the role of Yaz, which was the role that Amanda played. And again, I remember it was my first big audition where I was called back. There's chemistry tests, there's auditions in front of executives, and it was a real, and I was just taking it in my stride, everything that I was doing, I was taking the feedback and just doing what I felt was right creatively. And I remember actually with I think it was the second callback, and I was sat outside and I was waiting. I know what I want to bring to the table, and of course I'm neutral in my accent, so I was learning the accent as well. And I think somebody came out, my sister came out and said, don't worry, there's about 7 important people in there. And I was like, no, I thought I was going to do that. And then I thought, I can smash this. So I kind of went in and I did my thing. And I remember I had the chemistry test with Jodie, and she was amazing. I think for me personally, again, being one of my first big auditions, to have a chemistry test with Jodie as one of my first was amazing. She literally made me feel so comfortable. She was like, come in, you know, make yourself comfortable, do what you need to do. And it was just, yeah, it was a great experience. And then that's why then technically for the role of Sonia, I didn't have to audition because they'd seen me so much. And although I didn't get Yaz, I got Sonia, and it was brilliant. It was really, really good fun. And every time I went back for any episode, it was just like being with family. So it's really lovely.
So you knew Mandy before?
Kind of knew of her, like we knew each other a little bit. And I knew of the work that she'd done as well. So for me it was nice because even when I obviously we played sisters on TV, but I kind of had that little kind of sister banter with her, like off the screen. So it was nice to kind of work with someone where you've got that chemistry as it was. So yeah.
Would you say you were like sisters outside of the show as well?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd love to say Amanda's response to that, but I'd say so. I'd say so. It was nice. Like we did banter, like you know how sisters are, where you're kind of like, you know, you kind of like give each other a kind of bit of a nudge. But like I feel like there were a lot of similarities with us as well. I think that's what it was. There were just things that we both enjoyed talking about doing, and I think naturally you get that friend sister kind of vibe, if that makes sense. So I feel like we kind of had that. Yeah.
Now you've all performed with some incredible stars in your episodes. Now Debbie, you had lots of Clive Swift, Jeffrey Parmer, and Kylie Minogue.
Yeah.
Can you remember when you found out she was going to be involved?
I think I can't remember literally when, but it was definitely before the read-through. So I already knew that it was going to be very sad. And Burton Quigley's, of course, played that whole Burton. And I remember we had the read-through in the Actors' Church in Chiltern Court Road, where lots of things go on. And the lovely producer was standing outside, and as everyone was sort of waiting, he went, just to say, Kylie Minogue is in the room, so be cool. Uncle went in there. Oh no, Uncle. That's funny. But she was so lovely. I mean, she like Jodie, she just puts you at your ease immediately, so you very quickly forget how incredibly famous you are.
But did you get to sing with her?
I probably did, because I was singing with anyone who asked. And we were really the only 2 women in that episode, so we bonded quite quickly. And we were together for months, so we did become very close on set and everything. And I'm sure we did have many to sing song. I think we did a duet of I Should Be Set Up.
Can you remember what Russell Burnett was like?
He was so lovely. He was just the sweetest man. And he turned up on day 1. He had a suitcase of props. And he was looking like, right, Russell, now I've got a rubber chicken, can we use that? Right, so I've got one of those horns, can we do all that in England? Okay, and he just walked, it was like Mary Poppins' bag, you know, things kept coming out of the lampstand and a taxi, all these things just kept coming out of his bag. And he was like really genuinely asking whether he could use any of his popular cloth. And I think some of them probably did go in, but I can't remember which one. But he was an absolute delight and very sadly missed.
Yes. Now, Vicky, whilst you were on holiday in the bus, what was it like working with your co-stars, and in particular Daniel?
Oh, yeah, it was flown, God bless him.
Now an Oscar winner, but he was at the back, very started.
Perhaps one of his first ever one, apart from Skins, definitely. We were the 3 Musketeers. There's myself, David Ames, and Dan Fleur. Yes, and David, you know, and that was them just like start the job. And we just, completely different people, but we just really got on, and we were up to absolute terrors, together. We really were. We had some great laughs, and I remember at one point Dan goes, right, this is it. So we used to race each other over the dunes. There wasn't a lot to do, right? But we were in the middle of a desert. tongue violins. But you know, there wasn't a lot to do, so we used to race each other over the sand, only because if you fell, it didn't really hurt. Do you know what I mean? I've got to say, David Tennant was the fastest. He was active, he was just like, but at one point, Dan took on, he went, come on then, Barney woman, because obviously Michelle was in it with us, who was already being the Barney woman, and then the sex like, come on then, he was like, yeah, I'll be the Barney woman! Yeah. So we had some very, very funny things. But yes, I'm so glad Dan has gone on, and David as well, do you know what I mean? They've both gone on to some brilliant stuff.
They keep rising as well.
Yes. You can find David Ames in Horseplay at Riverside Studios. I'm going next week.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And Debbie, you also worked with Danny as well. One of my favourite shows, Psycho.
Yes, and he was lovely then. Sometimes you just get an inkling about someone, and you watch them on set, just being themselves, and you watch them in front of the camera, and you think, that kid's going far, and you just knew he was going to go far. He was brilliant. So it was Psycho, and yeah, he was just great. He was totally, you know, I'm 51 now, as of yesterday, and
Happy birthday!
and I still behave like a small child whenever I'm on a set and misbehave terribly. And he does too, but he's so professional, and he's just got it. You know, he behaves himself. He knows what he's doing. He's got that presence. He was quite stunning, yeah. And it came as no surprise when he shot off.
His trajectory is
stratospheric. Absolutely, and well deserved. And, yeah, I really want to see Nope. Has anyone seen Nope? Not yet. Not yet. Yeah, you have. Yeah, I really want to see that.
I remember really sweetly as well, Dan did, when we were coming back from at the airport, he was like, "Did come with me?" He couldn't work out he was going to want to buy his mum a present. And we went to that Swarovski, and there was a Swarovski crystal, you know what I mean? Swarovski, thank you. And he picked up these little gifts for his mum, you know what I mean? I was just like, oh, mother. Yeah, it's lovely.
He's a good one.
Yes.
Now, Dan, what is it like, particularly working with Bradley Walsh and John this year?
Really great. So John, I remember that's my more recent memory. I remember we were waiting to shoot a scene, and John had come in. He was shooting just after, and he came down and he sat there. And he's again, people even like kind of know anybody. They're so incredibly talented, but they're so incredibly humble. And you know, sat there, had a good half an hour conversation. I think we covered food, holidays, travel, like literally everything in half an hour. And he was cracking jokes left, right and centre, and even Bradley. I remember the first time Bradley came in, and I was in makeup, and he goes, "So who are you then?" And I was like, "Oh, hello." And that was the first time I met him. And again, I don't know whether it's just the way people are on set, and, you know, it's up to who, but it just felt like you might not know anybody, but by the end of the day, you are best friends. And it was, you know, it was like that with everybody. And I keep saying it, banter, laugh, but that was always the energy when you're not shooting. There was always laughter, there was always a funny joke, story, and I think it just brought out a lot in people when you were shooting. You know, people just felt more comfortable with each other, people were willing to take a few risks, be a bit funny, and so it was really great, it was really, really good. And again, they've got so much experience behind them on stage and such a massive fan following of their own that for me, I was just in awe. I was like, this is so yeah, it was really great.
And it felt when you're on set or in theatre with a company of actors, you become really quite tight, like a big family unit.
Yeah.
And they are the parts of you are, they're big parts of the life.
Yeah, 100%. And for myself, obviously playing Sonia, I was coming in and out, so you know I wasn't there with them every single day travelling. But even when I came in and out, you know, you'd be like, "Oh, I haven't seen you in a few months. How you been?" And it's like, you know, that kind of vibe and atmosphere just brings out the best in people in the work that you're doing. So.
Was it the same with you two working with David Tennant as well? And of course he's coming back as well.
Yeah.
Are you coming back?
Well, we've decided we're going to go back. They don't know this yet. Twin monsters, what do you think?
I think so.
Yeah?
I'll do that.
Yeah. Let's talk about twins.
Well, I keep saying my character plunged into a fiery furnace. She killed herself before her Morgan died. And but it's a time travelling thing, so let's go back in time. Get her out of the furnace.
Yes.
You can rescue me.
Yes, there we
We'll go
go.
across the dunes.
Yes.
Great.
In my bus. In my bus. What was the question? I'm so sorry.
That's it.
Yes, Mr.
Yeah.
Tennant.
Oh, he's a darling.
Yeah,
Mm.
madly in love with him.
Yes.
Yeah, everyone is.
His professionalism, his energy,
Mm.
he knows no bounds. He's going to run out of steam soon, but he doesn't, not at all. And he doesn't need it, but he drives everything, do you know what I mean? Because everybody around the crew on each series, do you know what I mean, are absolutely wonderful. But he's absolutely great, he really is.
I bet he was incredibly welcoming.
Yes!
So nice.
Yeah.
Also, he's having the time of his life, and there are
For sure.
certain actors, I'm not thinking of anyone in particular, but you know, when you're given the opportunity of a lifetime and suddenly you're starring in a sentence, it's probably an insecurity thing, a feeling that you don't deserve it, you're going to be found out going forward. You turn into a bit of
Yes.
an idiot. But he totally doesn't. He knows how lucky he is. He's enjoying every single second. And his enthusiasm and joy is infectious.
Yes,
isn't it?
exactly that.
And he's just
Yeah.
having a fun time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, Bob, I know you have a big passion for storytelling that pushes boundaries, and that's certainly been explored in your area with prolific writers like Dean Patel. Now, and he recently was in Flux, which became event TV. It was incredible. What was that like, making that under those difficult circumstances of COVID restrictions?
Yeah, it was good. COVID, I think, was something for everyone, and it was in the sense that it changed a lot of kind of processes. I remember, obviously, I was shooting before COVID, and I remember shooting during COVID, and you did feel, obviously, there were restrictions, there were logistical things that you had to do. But one thing I do remember is that when you were shooting, when you were on set, everything felt like it was back to normal, and that's the way I think they really tried to hold the show. That things around it, you had to make sure you're travelling, make sure you're there and everything a bit earlier, maybe ahead of time. But as soon as you got there, everything felt the same again, and I think that was really, really special. So, and you needed that for certain stories. You need that because you've got to have that space where you forget everything outside and you bring everything that you need to the table. And I think they did that really, really well on Honest Note. So yeah, it was difficult, but I think especially the kind of acting industry and other industries were so resilient and we so loved the work we do that everybody was like, we're going to get there, we're still going to do it, this is not going to affect us. And I think you see that throughout the writing. I think if someone watched back and you didn't tell them that there was COVID or wasn't, they would look back and go, I would have noticed there was a pandemic going on there, because they kept true to everything that they said.
It must have been so difficult. I can imagine must have been like escapism to do that,
Yes.
like live in that scary world of COVID, but then going into another.
It actually was. Funny you say that, because I did feel like that a little bit. I did feel like that a bit, that you're, I think for a lot of actors, acting is your safe haven. It's somewhere you can play and somewhere you can get away and do work with people that you love doing work with. So for me personally, it was like that. When we travelled to Cardiff, it was like, you're out of everything else and you just focus on what you want to do and what you love doing. So yeah.
And following on with that, but there's something about acting, isn't it? To be somebody else.
It's so much
It's
fun.
nothing like it.
I mean, you remember Sonia with her hoops and her chains, and but as soon as I put that on, I was like, oh yeah, I'm badass, And I think it does change something about you, and it's a lot of fun, especially with somebody like Sonia. She was written to have snarky comments, be sarcastic. I am some of those things sarcastic, but and you can really play with those, with those things, and also because where you're set within the story. Yaz is coming home, so you've got to bring that kind of energy and vibe of a household and family and fun, that things people can relate to, and so you really play into that. So for me, yeah, it was a lot of fun just to get away from everything and be a character.
Were any of you three cheeky and got to pinch anything from set?
Gary said from set, I was wondering what you were asking.
Oh.
We did actually, yes.
I took the bus.
You took the bus?
It's a bit of sand.
I'm not, do you know what, no, I don't think, so if you don't leave it around, because I will nick it, but in a funny way, I don't mean how bad. But you know, I'll always think, I think a pair of slippers or something like that, so I must have, I think I took her strides, I think I took her, yeah.
I think I took earrings, I think, I know, I remember. Because I'm so old and so long ago, I can't remember.
And I just had a baby there as well, so I've got no idea what's going on. Yeah, possibly, yeah.
I don't think I accidentally taken something, but I was on set like the next weekend or something, so I was like, I'll bring it back. It was fine, but yeah, I don't think I did. I did love one of the outfits that I wore.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the delivery outfit. This is not the one. I did say to Ray, bless him, I said, if you don't need any of this, my wardrobe is willing to take it. But obviously, we didn't know how to get paid by people, so I didn't. We didn't know how much we were going to shoot for that. So he was like, all right, I'll let you know. So maybe.
Oh. Now another thing that connects you all is that you've all done Big Finish audios.
Yes,
Now,
yeah.
Vicky, you not only had David Tennant, but you Colin Baker as well.
I have, yes, most definitely.
What was that like?
It was great, but it was very entertaining. He doesn't
Yes,
stop
it is.
talking, does he? I mean, I've been on conventions, I mean, yeah, great man. I've been on conventions with him as well. Yeah, he's really nice. And Big Finish I'm known for, so my pound, do you know anybody know Lisa Parmer? Yeah. So yes, you must, isn't it? So she got me in and I carry on working for her, doing other stuff as well, which I've just done last week. But Big Finish, you don't know who's going to turn up. Well, I did know Colin was going to be there. But you don't know who's going to turn up, you know, because there's all different decades of Dr. Bin. You're like, oh, wait, so you get to meet so many great people. And I loved it because it gave me a chance. I love being somebody else, as we all do. But visually, you can't see me. So, you know, I think I was playing a bloke at one point. It was brilliant. A little old geezer, do you know what I mean? Fire and laughing all the time. Yeah, so the opportunities have been brilliant. I've had a great time.
Yeah, I'd say the same as well. Like, so obviously last year, Kieran was my character, and the greatest thing was I was flicking through it and I was like, no spoilers. Basically, I mean it's obviously out, so you can have listened to it. But I remember it was a nice acting challenge for me, which is exactly what, like you're saying, right? You don't know what is necessarily going to be written, and you just kind of go in and. It's so nice because you've got everybody in the room. We were really lucky because even though COVID was happening, we had, I think, 4 of us and we were allowed to have 4 of us in the room. And the studios all just like opened up again. And for me, it was like, oh, this is playtime. And you can have so much fun. And I think it was nice because you can play with the characters in a different way that you didn't really, like there's a lot more, you can do a one line in so many different ways so that you can just really create a whole new scene that you didn't know, and you've not got the restrictions of, you know, maybe like all the kind of staging, lighting, you can just really play with your voice. So I think for me, yeah, that was really, really good.
And I've been sitting here panicking because I've got the world's worst memory. I can't remember what I did.
You did one with Fraser, I think, in The Outliers, it was called.
The Outliers?
Yeah.
Yes, I did The Outliers. Who else was in it?
Uh,
There was a period when I did sort of radio dramas back to back, so they've all sort of melted into a big ball of radio. I'm so sorry. It's very embarrassing, but I just think you have to admit your mistakes. You'll put me on trial later, I'm very sorry. I think it was Colin Baker, wasn't it? So I did something with Colin Baker. Darling, my husband's in the audience.
Darling, did she?
What did I
Was
do?
she there, darling?
Yeah, put me on the spot.
I think it was Colin Baker.
I think it was Colin Baker.
I'm so sorry, it's very embarrassing. I can't remember what I did yesterday. It's not against anything other than my own
It was
memory.
your birthday.
It was his birthday. I'm going to think it's all the alcohol I have, but it wasn't.
Did you all get to experience the famous Big Finish lunches?
Yeah.
That I remember, yes.
Yeah. You're coming back to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was it's a spread. That's what you said.
Yeah.
Mighty spread.
Mighty spread.
So, Debbie, you recently worked with Chris Eccleston on Dodger.
Yes.
Yes.
I didn't have any scenes with him, but I knew he was in it.
In the episode.
And yes, so it's nice to be almost together.
Oh, did you not get to meet?
No, I was with, oh God, again, memory.
We're still doing this to her.
Can you get some email in just questions like Google everything, have it all written down? No, I was with Simon Day from The Fast Show and Phil Cornwell, who you'll know from, he's a brilliant impressionist as well as an actor. And we were, I was dressed up as Kandaka, the lion woman, in a sort of Barnum and Bailey type freak show, for want of a better word, that's what they were called then. And I had hair all over my face. It took an hour and a half in the morning to put it all on. And I didn't have to shave for a week, it was marvellous. I never saw Christopher Eccleston, but he was playing Bill Syme, was he not?
Was it Fagin?
Fagin, sorry, Fagin.
Yeah.
Yes, I meant Fagin. Yes, and it's a very good sort of for children, but really adults can watch it as well. About it was really good.
Yeah.
And that was written by my lovely friend Lucy Montgomery, who I worked with on Titty Bang Bang,
Yes.
and her husband Reese, who I also worked with on Titty Bang Bang. So they got me to do a lion face for them, which I don't know what that says about our friendship. But thank you very much.
You're the girl.
No, just the best.
And you've all tread across the theatrical boards, and Vicky, you've done 12th Night, Debbie, you've done so much. While you were at the National Youth Theatre,
Yeah.
having performed in different mediums, how do you find the difference between stage screen and audio?
I just spoke.
For me, funny enough, so I probably haven't maybe done as much theatre as you guys have, but when I first started in National Youth, it was the beginning of everything for me. You know, it's where you make your closest friends. It's where then you go on and you see everybody in auditions and you work with the same people, especially when you're doing smaller theatre work and bigger theatre work and whatnot. And I remember for the first couple of years, I remember thinking, I really want to do screen. And at that time, screen wasn't massive, especially for people of kind of my background. There weren't many people doing screen. I thought, oh, well, that might be the place to go then. And I remember somebody saying, like, the digital world, the screen world, the streaming world is going to blow up in like 8 years. I thought, should I do it? Should I take the risk? So I did. I basically started making friends with filmmakers. We were doing comedy sketches, web series, you know, trying to put things on YouTube. And I remember then I got a really good agent after that who put me up for stuff that, you know, like Doctor Who and all that kind of stuff. And it was the best thing I ever did. So for me, I'd say that although I kind of started in theatre, I kind of fell in love properly when I was doing screen work and comedy. You know, that was something that I was doing a lot of. And again, when I was kind of starting out, there weren't a lot of people, you know, young Asian female girls doing comedy. There just wasn't. And I was like, this is what I really want to do. And then I went up to Channel 4 people, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I started realising, I was like, there is a space for this, this is great. So I kind of followed it like that. But for me, I learned kind of, I guess, the tools in theatre, but then I really put myself to work when I went on screen. And for me, it was lovely to be on screen because I remember one of my acting tutors like saying, the camera is your best friend, you know, really, you know, just like treat it like an audience. And I think once I started to understand that, I really started to kind of get the minutiae of what screen was about. And yeah, I loved it. I really loved it. That's why I carried on. So, yeah.
Do you find one more challenging than the others? Or?
I think they come with their own challenges. Screen is very quick. You know, I remember reading there were line changes, there were things that were changing left, right, and centre because you have to make the shot look right. But I feel like with theatre, I did some really powerful stories. One story that I toured, I think we did Oxford, Manchester, and a few other places, and it was about, you know, abortion in the Indian culture or the Asian culture, and it was such a gripping story. And for me, like that particular story came with its challenge. You know, it was learning different, learning my accent, learning the story of a real woman who was forced to have abortion, and you know. So for me, I think, I don't know, I guess you guys would agree, but I think it comes with the project rather than necessarily the platform or the, you know, or the stage. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly that, and also the people that you know, in any job, in any industry, the people that you're working with, because you might have an absolute cork of a part, a cork of thing, and you've got an arsehole of a director, and you're like, oh, shit. You know, so the mix of the two, that, you know, when it all comes together, as it did in Doctor Who, definitely, then that's the ideal, definitely for me. Yeah.
Now, Debbie, I've got to ask.
Yes.
You did the Cherry Orchard at my second home at the Crucible.
Yeah.
With my friend with Joanna Lumley, was
Very
it?
lovely, we call her.
What was that experience like?
That was
wonderful.
It was amazing. First of all, I love Sheffield, the country King of the City.
Yeah,
That's where, yeah, no memory of Boston or anything. And the theatre is a lovely theatre that does amazing. A while ago now, 15 years maybe? And it was a director called Jonathan Miller who since passed on. And he was extraordinary because he used to be a psychiatrist. And he wouldn't really direct, you know, every director has their different way of doing it. And his way of directing was to tell us a story about a client or a patient he'd had. And he'd say, so I once had a patient who dealt with stress by just pulling on their fringe all the time. And that was his direction. And you think, oh, I see. So when I'm feeling stressed in this scene, he wants me to pull on my fringe. But also he'd kind of go, you know, when you do a stage thing, directors say, right, we'd come in here and go off there and sit on the chair and stand up and move, blah, blah, blah. But he didn't do any of that. And so every time we did it, it was different, it was great. So we could literally bump into people, each other, as you would in real life perhaps, and it was all fine, so it was very free. But Joanna Lumley was delightful and insisted that all the girls shared the dressing room. She didn't want her own dressing room, she was, you know, she got lonely. And I completely understand. I'd always rather be in with the girls than on my own. And we just had a very jolly time of it. And we had this, in the dressing room, there was a sort of stuffed pheasant that had been used on a previous production. It was absolutely grim and had these sort of the eyes that someone had put in a bit wonky, so kind of left you with.
I think it's still there.
It was. Do you know what I mean? I love that. Yeah. And we used to play this game, Hide the Pheasant. And I was very, I know, and sort of scare the other girl. And I was very proud of my one because I took it one day and I mailed it and put it in a box and I mailed it to Joanna Lumley, care of Staying Here. And she came in one day and went, darling, so I had this marvellous parcel. I wanted to open it in front of you. I'm sure it's enough with present. And she screamed when she saw this present. I was very pleased with myself.
Now, are there any shows out there you'd love to work on, or any people in particular?
Love this one.
That's a long list.
Yeah, I know.
I always say, I feel so lucky, I'm sure you feel the same way, but every time I do a job, I always have in the back of my mind, this might be the last job I ever get, so I better enjoy it, because who knows what's going to happen. And then every time you get another job, you think, oh, there's another job, who knew? So you just feel so lucky all the time to be able to do the thing you love and continue doing it. And so, you know, that list, of course, there are sort of dream actors.
Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood.
But you don't.
Well,
King is
you
one.
never know.
You never know.
Put it out there.
Yeah.
You know, Henry Winkler.
Oh, Henry Winkler,
Yeah.
that would be fun, wouldn't it?
Yes.
That would be really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyone goes to that, isn't it? It's like, whoever you meet at any point is such a treat.
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, somebody who stands out right now for me, and I followed her work ages, Viola Davis. That's somebody who's got real, because she's got such a personality and a commitment. What the work that her and her husband do outside of like what you see on screen is immense. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to what they do. But like it's like for me, she's a real persona of someone who's just so dedicated to what she does. And she doesn't care what other people think about her, and I think she's done that for the last 20, 30 years, and I think that's, it would be incredible. I feel like if you were just in a room with her, you would just get something,
Nice,
you know?
nice,
So that's for me. I'd love to be in sex education.
Oh yeah.
That's actually something else.
But
I think
Right, do we have any questions? Jenny.
Do you actually have a favourite memory of working on the episodes? Anything that stands out, you remember really clearly, favourite thing?
Well, I remember the bus, because we had such a time with the bus, you know, because it got, you probably know, it got damaged in transportation, and so it went through the wormhole. But, you know, they had, I'm so sad, they had Victoria at the front, so I was like, and I dined out on that for the entire filming. That was great, yeah. The bus was brilliant.
Got to eat on the bus as well.
Yeah. My bus,
Live on it,
Chris.
sleep on
My bus. Once the driver popped his goal, so you know, I was in charge of the bus.
Stuck in a tune somewhere.
Yeah.
He went for a thing, didn't he?
Because of the heat,
Yeah.
Oh, there was a lovely little scene I did with Jodie. So you know when we were playing the video game and we had to the way that was shot, we had to tag in and out of the scene because obviously the way they had to cut it was that Jodie was there, I was there, Jodie was there, I was there, and literally we had this small kind of set. And me and her were like doing like some dance like around each other. And I think it was really funny. But even though it was so logistical, we had to remember so much. Doing it with something like Jodie made it really, really fun. So I just remember that as a funny thing because we just couldn't get a single thing right. Well, I so yeah, so it was that was one funny thing. Looking at your flip flops, I remember the first scene I was ever in. I'll run the man, staring at the flip flops. No, but I remember the first scene I was in. I had to wear flip flops, and I was like, and funnily enough, they did ask me if he called and socks, and I was like, yes, please. So yeah, for me, that was just a funny memory because I was just sat there going, this is my first scene, and I've got flip flops on, and it's just that was it.
I've got two moments, one on set, one off. So there's one scene where my character is comforted. So her husband's just been killed by the angels, with the golden angels, and